Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down an absolutely fascinating blueprint for the 2025 landscape of graphic design. If you've been sitting there wondering how everyday people are turning basic visual skills into a highly lucrative online income, well, the source material we're analyzing today maps it all out beautifully. We're going to look at the whole shebang, from the raw financial data driving this massive boom, right down to the exact tools, techniques, and specific mindset shifts the research says you absolutely need to master this space. Just look at this number for a second. 8,000 plus. That is the staggering number of client reviews a single freelancer on Fiverr has right now. And guess what they're doing? Just creating simple YouTube thumbnails? No way, right? But the research shows this completely shatters that old myth of the starving artist. See, the creator economy has created this massive bottleneck. Millions of videos, podcasts, and articles are uploaded daily, and every single piece of content desperately needs a visual hook to get clicks. Creators literally cannot keep up with the demand themselves, and that's exactly where this specific financial opportunity opens up. It's highly accessible, and you can jump in right from your living room. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's the agenda our source lays out for us today. We'll start with the lucrative design opportunity, then we'll move into mastering design principles first. After that, we'll tackle no-barrier designing with Canva, learn the secret of reverse engineering the greats, and wrap things up with portfolio, community, and growth. All right, Section 1, the lucrative design opportunity. Let's get into it. Looking at the data comparing current Fiverr freelancers, we see Amit charging $25 per thumbnail with 8 orders sitting in his queue, while Shwilly is charging $20 with 12 orders waiting. I mean, the math outlined here is incredibly compelling. Content creators and YouTubers are just completely bogged down in scripting, filming, and editing. They're way too busy making the actual videos to design their own thumbnails. So if you step in and provide a simple, clean, high-conversion design, the data indicates you can easily net $50 in just a couple of hours producing a handful of images. You're solving a major time crunch for these creators, and believe me, they are more than happy to pay a premium to buy back their own time. Moving right along to Section 2, mastering design principles first. Now, what's really interesting here, and the most crucial distinction the source makes, is that memorizing what a term like hierarchy or rule of thirds means from a textbook, totally useless to you. The core foundations of effective design only matter if you can actually spot them working dynamically on a real canvas. It's all about developing your innate design awareness. The analysis emphasizes that design is an active, ongoing practice of visual problem solving. It's not just some static vocabulary test you can cram for overnight. You really need to train your brain to naturally see balance and tension in everyday objects. So how do we do that? Well, the guide offers a highly actionable, honestly brilliant hack to rapidly train your design eye. Step 1. Open up ChatGPT and ask it to explain a specific design principle. But, and this is key, ask for real-life examples of how it's used to direct human attention. Step 2. Take what you just learned and immediately head over to Pinterest or Behance. Search for modern poster designs and actively hunt for that principle in action. Stuff like contrast, scale, or balance. It's like a giant puzzle. The goal here is to train your brain's pattern recognition. The research suggests this is exactly how you bridge the gap between abstract theory and actual visual understanding. It dramatically accelerates your learning curve, and you never even have to touch a boring textbook. Which brings us to Section 3, no barrier designing with Canva. The source material emphasizes one absolutely crucial quote to keep in mind. The tool doesn't make the designer. You could drop thousands of dollars on the most complicated high-end software ecosystem in the world, but if you don't understand the foundational design structure we just talked about, it's really just an expensive, shiny object. By mastering those core fundamentals first, the research notes you effectively destroy the traditional barrier to entry. This means you can use highly accessible, often totally free tools to produce remarkably professional work. The research highlights a really clear comparison here. Traditional software, like Photoshop or Figma, brings massive granular power, but it also introduces steep learning curves and that incredibly overwhelming feeling of just staring at a blank canvas. That blank canvas paralysis, it stops so many beginners in their tracks. There are so many menus, submenus, and obscure keyboard shortcuts that the creative process literally gets buried under technical frustration. Canva, on the other hand, operates on a completely free, zero-friction model. It offers drag-and-drop ease alongside a massive, ready-made online library of templates and assets. You seriously don't need years of professional software experience to start arranging visual elements beautifully from day one. Let's break down exactly how powerful this simple workflow can be based on the source's breakdown. In Canva, you literally have millions of free elements at your fingertips. Imagine you're creating an ad banner. You just drag in a high-quality photo of a mountain, drop a square shape over it, choose a 2-color gradient, and then just pull back the transparency slider. Boom! Instantly, you have a professional, modern overlay. You can layer shapes, add typography, and even use built-in image adjustments to tweak the temperature and tint of a photo so it perfectly matches your background. It is an incredibly fluid process. You achieve professional-grade visuals without paying a single dime. The guide points out that this level of accessibility essentially eliminates the old requirement of needing an expensive college degree to enter the commercial design space. A real game changer. All right, section 4, reverse engineering the grades. Because these tools are now so incredibly accessible, the key to leveling up is adopting this very specific mindset. What makes this design work? This is the exact question the guide states you absolutely must ask yourself every single time you see a piece of design you admire. Don't just scroll past a great social media graphic or a beautiful billboard. Stop, carefully analyze it, figure out the hidden mechanics behind the aesthetic. The data outlines this as essentially a magic trick for rapid improvement. First, find a designer whose work consistently blows you away. Second, take their design, feed it into a visual AI tool, and ask the AI to reverse engineer exactly how and why the layout works based on those foundational principles we discussed earlier. Finally, step 3, and the source stresses this is absolutely crucial, recreate that design in your own personal time. Actually, scratch that. Don't do it for a client, just do it for practice. Rebuilding a great design block by block is the absolute fastest way to truly understand the structural decisions the original designer made. It builds muscle memory, it trains you on proper spatial relationships between elements, and it embeds a deep, intuitive understanding of how typography interacts with negative space. And that brings us to section 5, portfolio, community, and growth. It is absolutely vital to remember that your portfolio isn't just a shiny catalog meant only to impress clients. The blueprint frames it more like your personal laboratory. It's a dedicated place to experiment with wildly different styles, to totally fail, and most importantly, to document your incremental growth. Look, no one starts out painting masterpieces, right? Your early, rough amateur projects are actually vital benchmarks for your journey. The experts suggest that if you keep at this consistently, looking back at your portfolio 6 months from now will absolutely shock you with just how much your visual communication skills have evolved. The source also notes you shouldn't do this alone. Joining forums, local meetups, or online design groups is an essential growth strategy. But here is the secret weapon the guide reveals for developing a highly critical eye. Don't just ask for feedback. Actively learn to give it. When you actively critique someone else's work, maybe pointing out that their message is confusing because of cramped white space or conflicting font choices, you're actually training your own brain to spot those exact same flaws in your own work before you ever publish it. And when the tables are turned, well, you've got to receive feedback with humility. Sure, getting a harsh critique that your colors clash or your layout is entirely illegible, that can sting initially. But using that specific, uncomfortable feedback as a direct stepping stone is exactly what separates amateurs from professionals. Receive it well, give it constructively, and just watch your skills skyrocket. The data we've reviewed today clearly shows the roadmap. The financial demand is incredibly high because content creators are desperate for good, fast work. The foundational knowledge is literally just an AI prompt away, and the creation tools themselves are completely free to use. The data confirms the opportunity is sitting right in front of you, so the final, provocative thought the source leaves us with is simply this. Will you design your future today? The choice to start is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.